1.5 turbo, LFE 169 horsepower. Most often, the 9th generation Chevrolet Malibu is delivered to us with a 1.5-liter turbo engine. This engine is a close relative of the 1.4 turbo engine, E14 XFT, which is installed on the Opel Astra K. The 1.5-liter engine has an increased piston stroke. This unit has a light alloy cylinder block with cast iron liners, a Morse chain in the timing drive, 2-phase shifters, and a turbocharger. This engine managed to cause troubles, from which GM itself mainly suffered. The partitions between the piston rings were destroyed. GM recognized the problem and cited the LSBI effect as the cause, i.e. detonation that occurs at low engine speeds. Typically, this type of detonation is caused by the ignition of certain additive components in the engine oil. In July 2017, a bulletin was issued that prescribed the use of a different grade of oil. This is Dexos 1 Generation 2 oil, 88,865,635. Viscosity 5 watts minus 30. At the same time, dealers updated the ECU firmware. In general, pistons fell apart on Malibu engines of the 2016 and 2017 model years with mileages of over 50,000 kilometers. Today there is no such problem. But if you happen to choose a Malibu from the first years of production, then do not be lazy to check the engine for misfires. Unscrew the oil filler neck. At idle there should be no gases puffing from either there or from the exhaust pipe. The best way is to do an endoscopy of the cylinders. Surprisingly, the broken fragments of the piston baffles did not cause serious damage to either the cylinders or pistons. The damaged engines, in principle, continue to run at the very least on 3 cylinders. In general, the 1.5-liter turbo engine is not particularly troublesome. He worries about little things: either clean the throttle valve, or change the electric vacuum valve for controlling the turbine flap. 703,833,020. The vacuum pump may also wheeze. Some owners are concerned about the presence of oil in the intake manifold and intercooler. It gets here not from the turbine, but from the crankcase ventilation system. Therefore, if this bothers you, install either a separate oil trap, or try to remove the breathers from the valve cover and clean them, or replace them with new ones. Chevrolet Malibu owners also willingly remove and ultrasonically clean fuel injectors every 30,000 kilometers. It is believed that this protects the engine from detonation and local overheating of the pistons if the spray quality is impaired. And those who are concerned about the start-stop system buy an element of electrical wiring in China, after installation of which this system is turned off. This wire is installed in the wiring harness near the hood latch. 1.8 hybrid, LKN 182 horsepower, 2.0 turbo LSY, LTG 237 horsepower, 253 horsepower. Much less often the Chevrolet Malibu is found on sale with a 2-liter turbo engine and a 1.8-liter hybrid power plant. The 2-liter engine is considered even less capricious than the 1.5-liter. The Malibu Hybrid is inspired by the Chevrolet Volt plug-in hybrid, with an engine and transmission proven and reliable. True, the power unit begins to have problems with crankcase ventilation early on due to a burst membrane, 55,581,626, but this can be fixed for little money. GM 6T45 6-speed automatic transmission. Off 8F45 8th Street automatic transmission. GM 9T59 speed automatic transmission. GM CVT 250 VT40, 5 at 50 MKE. The Chevrolet Malibu had many automatic transmissions. The 1.5-liter turbo engine is available with a 6-speed automatic of GM's own production, and after restyling it was replaced with a VT40 variator. The version with a 2-liter turbo engine was originally supplied with an 8-speed automatic transmission Eisenhoff 8F45, and since 2018 received 9-speed GM 9T50 unit. The hybrid modification is equipped with a hybrid transmission from the Chevrolet Volt 2, with 2 electric motors in it. To date, there are no obvious serious and systematic problems with the automatic transmissions of this car. Owners try to change their ATF every 60,000 kilometers to ensure against premature wear. Both halves of the air filter box are pulled together and fastened to each other with self-tapping screws. Over time, especially if you screw them in with excessive force, the screws simply tear off the threads in their mounting sockets. Of course, there will be no talk of any decent sealing of the box or tight fit of the filter. On uneven surfaces, the filter box may shake and open. Air will flow into the engine past the filter. If the screws no longer hold the halves together, then it is best to buy a new filter box. You can also come up with your own fastenings, with screws and nuts, for example. There are times when the expansion tank bursts without any particular reason. It is impossible to predict such a nuisance. There are also very rare cases when the right engine mount bursts and even the light alloy frame of the automatic transmission support, The support below the transmission breaks. These troubles are also difficult to predict. They arose unexpectedly. The suspension of the Chevrolet Malibu is completely ordinary and is generally unified with the suspension of the second-generation Opel Insignia. The front has McPherson struts, steel lower arms with a press-fitted ball joint. They last 150,000 kilometers or even more. To date, there are no replacements for these levers. The original ones, 84,376,572, complete with both silent blocks, cost $300. The levers for Insignia B have different part numbers. Original front stabilizer struts, 84,077,102, sell for $40. Replacements are available for $10 or more. The front hubs are inseparable from the bearings, 13,526,966, $200 each. Replacements are half the price. All this comes from Opel. The rear suspension is also like that of the Opel Insignia B, but not all the parts here are formally interchangeable. Silent blocks of levers last a long time. There are practically no substitutes at the moment. The original ones cost $200, $300. Rear hubs $460 each. When starting from a standstill, a knock may appear in the rear suspension. In this case, you need to look for the source of the noise, including in the area of the upper supports of the rear shock absorbers. If it is knocking there, then we do as prescribed by the GM engineers who recognized this problem. Between the shock absorber and its upper support, you need to place an M10 washer, 30 mm in diameter and 2.5 mm thick. It is necessary to protect this washer from corrosion. You can find original rubber-coated washers on sale, 11,602,307. They cost $15. An almost universal problem with the Chevrolet Malibu is the wetting of the headliner in its rear part right in the center. Water penetrates here through the seals of the signal repeater. As you can see, the central stop is not under the glass, but outside. There is a recess in the glass for it. This problem is also recognized by the manufacturer. If you remove the headliner, you can see that several of the brake light mounting nuts have become very loose and even completely unscrewed. We recommend replacing the standard nuts with self-locking ones. The service bulletin requires the replacement of 4 gaskets on the brake light housing. They seal the holes for the studs. When tightening the nuts, do not overdo it, because you can break the brake light or tear out the screws from its housing. Such a nuisance can happen later in the heat. According to the instructions, you need to first tighten the central nuts, and then both outer nuts, all with a force of 4.7 Newton meters. There is also a problem with water appearing in the trunk. A bulletin was also issued regarding this matter. It turns out that the rubber seal around the perimeter of the entire luggage opening may have been installed incorrectly on the conveyor. Water finds a gap underneath near the trunk lid hinges and also near the left light. The rubber seal near the hinges needs to be firmly seated in place, and the seams between the body panels near the left lamp need to be coated with sealant. The Chevrolet Malibu interior does not yet give cause for concern or repairs. The upholstery and plastics serve well. True, over time, the seat upholstery loses its pleasant appearance. First of all, the leatherette on the sides of the front seats cracks. Of course, first of all in the driver's seat. Sometimes when you turn the steering wheel, a creaking noise is heard from below in the pedal area. To eliminate the squeak, you need to lift the cover on the through hole of the steering shaft below the pedals. There, in the hole, the shaft passes through a plastic sleeve. If you treat it with silicone or any other lubricant, the squeak will disappear. A common problem on the Chevrolet Malibu is an error in the accelerator pedal. The error lights up a message on the instrument panel, which indicates that engine power is limited. In general, the accelerator pedal was changed during the recall campaign. To solve this problem, you either need to change the accelerator pedal, you can buy a used pedal, or you can open the pedal body, and then clean and bend the contact antennae of the potentiometer. It is precisely because of the uncertain contact of the antennae with the tracks that this error appears. Another widespread problem with the Chevrolet Malibu, which was eliminated as part of the recall campaign, was the failure of the limit switch in the automatic transmission selector. Because of it, when you turn on parking, a request appears on the display to switch to parking. Under warranty, the entire automatic transmission selector was replaced with a new one. You can buy a used one or disassemble yours to replace a simple limit switch, Omron D2HWBL211DL or D2HWBL261H.